Welcome back. A year has passed since the deadly Covenant school shooting, and the now year-old group Voices for a Safer Tennessee continue their quest for common sense gun reform. A citizens panel gathered to bravely discuss common sense gun reform as the GOP-led Tennessee legislature has completely ignored the issue. A pediatrician, a former Nashville district attorney, a pastor, and a former Republican Senate Majority Leader and gun owner.
And so to be able now to champion ideas that might promote safe gun ownership and hopefully prevent tragedies like the ones I've just described in the future is something I wouldn't want to miss.
These are the kinds of things that we ought to be work together to try to find common sense solutions in ways that we can make the world a safer place for all of us.
I think it's the job of clergy to point out that we have an unhealthy obsession with guns in the United States.
It's a public health issue. It's the #1 killer, firearm injury, compared to any other cause for children in America today. Hadn't always been that way, but it is the #1 public health issue for children today. It's the #1 killer.
The forum is part of the year-old Voices for a Safer Tennessee, a bipartisan nonprofit group formed after the Covenant school shooting with the goal of common sense firearm safety. According to polls, 75 to 80% of all Tennesseans want strengthened background checks.
Just as an aside, probably only 1 out of every 2 guns sold in Tennessee have a background check behind it. So strengthen background checks. 75 to 80% of Tennesseans, a majority of Republicans right now say strengthen those laws.
Those polls also show 75 to 80% favor safe storage laws and laws to stop the temporary transfer of guns to people who may hurt themselves or someone else.
75 to 80% of all Tennesseans and the majority of all Republicans support those three. But when the legislation comes before the legislators now, they don't vote for those. Why is that? That's the great opportunity we have, and we can talk more about that. But it just, you know, that where the facts are, where the people are, is not where the representatives are. But we can make it that way.
And Senator Frisk believes it's possible to change legislative minds.
Sort of a rule of thumb, having been majority leader, is if you have anything that's 75% or more in terms of where the American people are, you almost always can influence the legislator.
It will not be easy. Tennessee is a permitless state. Approved in 2021, anyone 18 or over can carry a gun without a permit and with no training.
The fact is that 25, 30 years ago, guns were highly regulated in the state of Tennessee to possess them legally, and that is to carry them, that sort of thing. It was very rare that you could do that. Actually, you had to be a friend of the sheriff, friend of the chief of police, and he or she might make you a special deputy, and that meant you could carry a gun if you had to take the night deposits to the bank or something like that. But that was really the only way. And of course now, as Blake mentions, in 2021, it's permitless. And so anybody can carry it as long as you're eligible. There are some restrictions about a prior felony or some things like that that would make you ineligible. The other thing that's happened as we've seen it opened up to more and more people carrying guns is the type of guns that they're carrying. When I started, most of the guns, you used to hear it, you don't even hear the term anymore, it was the Saturday night special. And these were guns that were cheap is really not, doesn't do it credit. They were pieces of junk, and they were probably more dangerous to the person that was holding it than the person they were aiming it at. Today, that's not the case. You go to the police property room where they see confiscated weapons. They are beautifully made, manufactured, high capacity, mostly semi-automatic pistols. The firepower that the police take off the streets and arrests and so forth, vastly different than a 5-shot, 22 caliber Saturday night special to now, 16, 17, 18 shot, 40 caliber pistols. So you can imagine the havoc that those can create. And that's the change that we've seen as the city, is not only the city of Nashville, but the state, the country is just awash with firearms.
The impact of gun violence can last and last. Dr. Smith is treating some of those who survived the Covenant School shooting for physical and mental injuries.
I have a 6-year-old who's still, when he goes in the bathroom now, whether he's going in to wash his hands or to grab a tissue, he locks the door behind him because the place that he spent that day of the shooting was locked in a bathroom with several of his classmates with his teacher, and to him that's his safe place. That breaks my heart. He's 6 years old. I have an 11-year-old who is almost worrisomely obsessed with weaponry, not just firearms, but also archery and other things that, and with working out, because he wants to be stronger and he wants to be tougher because he feels guilty that he wasn't able to protect those around him in the shooting last year. And if that need arises again, he wants to make sure that he's better prepared and can protect those around him. He's 11. I have 2 9-year-olds, or they were 9 years old last year, now they are 10, who were 3rd graders and in with the group that lost some of their classmates. One still has a scar on her hand from a burn from a bullet that ricocheted off, landed on the floor where she was hiding under the teacher's desk, and burned her hand. The other one has scars on her knees from where she had to crawl across the floor on broken glass so that she could get to what she deemed was a safer place in the room to make it through the rest of the shooting. I mean, these are terrible, terrible things that the children are still dealing with.
The panel believes change can happen, but it will not happen quickly.
This is a long haul conversation, and if you're not in it for the long haul, whatever the issue is, my theological training tells me the powers will wait you out. Satan will wait you out. Satan's got time. The powers will wait you out. But if you're committed that this issue is important, this is a marathon, this is a sprint. And if you're easily deterred, go find something else, because you will not be able to sign up for what's required to do the long work of justice and mercy.
Tennessee's gun-friendly status is not without consequences.
Although remember, the firearm injuries are worse here in Tennessee than other states. If you look at 50 states, whatever the measure is, death in children, death from firearms, firearm injury, guns stolen from cars, we're at the very bottom. If we're not 50, we're 49, 48, 47. That's a good sign, because we can at least aim to be average. How do you get to be average? Just have that discussion. Why can't we be average? If we get to be average from 47, we're going to be saving thousands of lives over time.
The issue of guns in Tennessee is also intertwined in politics.
What we're not going to solve is the fundamental problem in America today, and that is our primary systems are really who elect people today. And that's tough, and we need to solve that problem, and it's a red, blue, it's sort of the polarity in politics today, the partisanship. And general elections really don't decide elections today, and therefore the legislators will follow not the fringe, but the extremes, because if they do that, they will win the legislature today, because we're such a red state today. So somewhere in the day, we need to mobilize everybody that's in the middle, which is the majority of people. It's not the 20% here who are electing Democrats or the 20% here who are electing Republicans, when that's a problem with our system today, our two-party system and the media and social media. But what we can solve is the mobilization of common sense, people coming together across the aisle, people who are here, because this is probably a purple church. You know, wherever we're located, you've got reasonable people who are coming together, and that's what we need to mobilize. We got to get people out to vote, and not just vote for the President of the United States, and not just the senators or the congressmen in the local elections, because those local leaders are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. They're going to be the people who go to Congress or to the Senate or be President of the United States. Just ask them, don't say, what do you think about gun control? What do you think about the #1 public health issue that's killing kids today more than any other issue? Just start with that. And then sort of mobilize from that standpoint.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.